What's good, everybody? Welcome to part 2 of this LaFlare Radio special edition NBA regular season preview. BT here with Hot Rod.
What's good?
And Dee Greatest.
Yes, sir.
We're going to bring you our thoughts on the Western Conference now, ranking each team from 15 all the way down to 1. Talking about strengths, weaknesses, and what we see for the season for each of these teams. So starting with number 15, today we'll start with Dee Greatest. Who do you have in that last spot in the Western Conference?
Number 15, I have the Dallas Mavericks. Yeah, I bet nobody was expecting that one, huh?
Not I.
Man, look, let me just read you the starting 5. Dennis Smith Jr., potential rookie of the year. Wesley Matthews, not the same. Harrison Barnes, flat out disappointment. He had a good year last year, but, from a lot of us won't forgive him what he did in the finals last time he played. I sure can't. Josh McRoberts, a starter? And,
yeah, ask the Heat fan about that one.
Yeah. And Dirk Nowitzki at center. Dirk Nowitzki at center. What rim is he protecting? Are you kidding me? He's slow, old. Yes, he can still shoot, but he's never been a great rebounder anyway. There is no point in his career or any era where him playing center is acceptable. At least Pau Gasol can block a shot or two. What's Dirk doing? Man, this is terrible. This is awful. Man, Devin Harris is still alive. In the NBA. Seth, he was hot last year. I respect him for making it, but, I see him as a 5-year veteran. I don't see him playing 10 years, and I don't see him being better than what he is. He's a scorer, but he's not an elite scorer. I like Nerlens Noel. I don't like him coming off the bench, but at the same time, there's no point of investing in the future if you're not going to play the future. Outside of Dennis Smith, but how long is Dennis Smith going to play? I see 4 point guards on this roster, and they like all of them. Devin Harris, JJ, who I'm surprised is still here. Dallas is probably the only team that we even have him on the roster. And Yogi. And, it's ridiculous of how bad a team can be in the West as much praise as they get. Like, do y'all realize Dallas last year was the only team to not score 100 points per game? They weren't even close. They were at 97.9. Do you see that increasing? Not as a team, no. It's crazy. And as bad as this team is, it might mess with Dennis Smith's Rookie of the Year chances, because are you really going to give the award to a player on the worst team in the league? Yeah, I feel like they could be even worse than Orlando. Hey, be prepared to be in this draft.
Rod?
At number 15, I got the Phoenix Suns. They have great young talent, but I feel like that's it. They don't really have much, star power. Devin Booker's on his way up, but he's still not, a bona fide star yet. Eric Bledsoe's a good player, good all-around player, but he's been hurt. He's been in and out of the lineup, and he's been on trade rumors all summer, so I'm sure he's not even in his head committed to the Suns, and he's probably just out there just to stat sheet stuff, just to boost his stock up and get out of there. They're also dangling Tyson Chandler. And then other than that, they just have a bunch of young players. I really like Marquise Chris and Jogden Bender, and see if they can take the next step. I love the draft pick of Josh Jackson. I think he'll be a great fit next to Devin Booker with his defensive limitations. But other than that, there's not really much to like about this roster in terms of competing in the West. So I think they'll be 15.
Yeah, definitely a lot of young talent with that team, but it's going to be a while before we see that really come to fruition. They're going to have to add a couple of more pieces. So moving on to 14, Dee Greatest. Who do you have?
I got the Phoenix Suns at 14. I agree with Rod. He hit the nail right on the head. Young talent, that's all. Now, I will say they have one more thing going for them. They were a top 10 offense last year. When it comes to point per game, so they can score. It's just that they also gave up the most points in the league last year. You cannot win in the West if you can't defend the West. Come on now. And looking at this roster, you know, the only addition they grabbed defensively was Josh Jackson. And according to the depth chart on ESPN, he's coming off the bench for TJ Warren. I don't like that. I don't like that. I feel
Did you like the TJ Warren contract too? I didn't like that contract. I forgot to mention that.
Nah, I don't. Because, I like TJ. It's not nothing against TJ. It's a little much for me. To me, his game is one-dimensional. Even in college, he was a scorer and a scorer and a scorer. But we have plenty of scorers in the league. This is the NBA. You can't pay a guy that much just because he can put up some buckets. Unless he hit like a 25-point per game or something, or if he has all-star projection or can affect the game other ways, I don't agree with it.
Yeah, well, that's how I feel too.
Unlike Josh Jackson, who could do much more, he can rebound. He's a better defender. He can score. He's an improving shooter, and we're praying that he keeps on improving. But to me, he's capable of making it. A lot of people write off his jumper. I see him making a three at the times where the team needed the most. That's good enough for me. Outside of that, I am not a fan of Marquise Chris like a lot of people are. I think he's pretty bad. I think he had the most missed dunks in the NBA last year. Eric Bledsoe, I don't even believe he's going to even last in Phoenix this season. I feel like they're going to trade him.
I agree with that. They're going to trade him by the trade deadline.
Hey, yeah.
And they should.
They should. They want to give Tyler Ulis more minutes anyway. I like Tyler because they need a ball distributor, and you're not losing that much defense. Even though he's small, he's a pesky defender.
Mm-hmm.
He could definitely get some swipes. But I really hope Eric goes east. I hope Eric goes east. I don't know what teams he's projected to get traded to.
Nuggets. That's the big one over the summer, but I don't know if the Nuggets will trade for him now.
We get to the Nuggets later, but I don't think they need him.
Yeah.
I agree Devin is not a full star yet. He's getting there. But in order for this team to get out of 14th, he needs to become one. And why is Tyson Chandler still here? I'm going to just leave it at that. 14, Phoenix Suns.
All right, Rod.
At number 14, we flip-flopped. I have the Dallas Maverick. You were saying, other than Dennis Smith and Dirk, what do they have? I don't know. Harrison Barnes is okay at best. Wesley Matthews, he's a good player, but he's still coming off that injury. I don't think he's fully healthy. I don't think he's the Wesley Matthews of Portland. Josh McRoberts projected as a starter. I don't even want to talk about that. But Dirk at center, what is going on here? What made them decide to start Dirk? I understand the Cavs going with Kevin Love at the 5, and that is what are you doing there?
A stretch.
Yeah, that's a stretch. And Dirk at center is stretching the stretch. Even with Nerlens Noel on the roster, why is Dirk starting at center? I understand it's going small, but yeah, the Dallas Mavericks, I think they're taking another step back. Last year was the first year in 15 years they didn't miss the playoffs, and I think they're taking another step back from last year. But they do have a bright young star in Dennis Smith Jr., so we'll at least get to see him, sort of take the reins and fight for a top playoff spot or fight for a top draft pick.
Yeah, I'm excited to see Dennis Smith Jr. A lot of these other players aren't starters on a lot of other teams. They're really role players, especially I think Harrison Barnes, Josh McRoberts. I'd like to see Dwight Powell move up to start over Josh McRoberts at the 4 at some point. And like you said, Wesley Matthews, I would really like to see him get back up to playing at the level that we saw him play in Portland, but I just don't see that happening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Achilles injury, and he's getting older, and he wasn't a guy that was really super athletic anyways.
So moving on to 13 now, DG.
13th, I have the Sacramento Kings. Hot Rod has been telling me all week, just look at Sacramento. Just look at Sacramento. Just look at Sacramento. Because I had these dudes last, I think. I had them last. Or 14th, either or. But I definitely had them on the bottom. So I looked, and I'm like, all right. Here's the 13th. Now, the reason why
That's
folded,
a big step for the Kings, though.
Oh, yeah, huge step. Yeah, major step. I do like them better now than I did with DeMarcus Cousins. I will say that. No disrespect to Boogie, you're an all-star legit player and all, but you don't lead teams to the playoffs. I, you know, that's just what history shows. So you got to blow it up. And I feel like they got deeper. Willie Cauley Stein played really well in Boogie's absence. I don't understand this starting lineup at all. I don't like Costa Kufis starting. I don't like Zach Randolph starting. I feel like you guys should play your young boys. Play Scal, play Willie. I mean, if you want to talk about fit, a lot of players y'all got do the same thing anyway, so you kind of messed that up yourself. So you might as well just get your young players better. George Hill, to me, George Hill should have found a better situation to be in. I feel bad he's in Sacramento. He's not going to become an all-star. He's not going to the playoffs. And to be honest, he's eventually probably going to get his spot taken by De'Aaron Fox. Which brings me to Mr. De'Aaron, another rookie of the year potential. Man, you don't have a lot to work with. I really don't. I mean, you're going to throw a lot of oops, but, you don't have a lot of shooting, in my opinion. I really don't see a lot. Now, your speed and your full court game is going to get you much more than a lot of other players in this league will get because you're just God gifted. But at the same time, I feel like the half court is just going to flat out struggle. But, hope is not all lost because De'Aaron's going to have a great running partner with Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield really turned his season around last year when he got traded to Sacramento. He became the buddy that we always wanted him to be because, preseason and summer league, he was trash. In the regular season with Pelicans, he was trash. But something in Sacramento happened where he just started hooping. And I expect him to make another jump. He's not going to push MIP, but the year afterwards, I could see that. So, hey, 13th, Sacramento. Congratulations.
Rod?
I have the same exact team at 13. I really like this roster. I do, in terms of future-wise. I love De'Aaron Fox. I'm a big UK fan, and he looked great at UK, and I really hope he translates into the league. Buddy Hield, I like him as well. I think he's a good fit for De'Aaron Fox. Quote me on this now. This is the second coming of John Wall and Bradley Beal. I feel like they both have the same skill sets. You know what I mean? Buddy Hield fits that Bradley Beal type off-ball screens, doesn't need the ball to really be effective. And De'Aaron Fox has the same skill sets as John Wall. He's not John Wall yet, but I think he can be. And he certainly reminded me that at Kentucky. And then you have Scal, another Kentucky guy that can be really good with time. Willie Cauley Stein, another this is Kentucky, university here. But I really like Harry Giles too. He didn't have that great of a year last year because he was coming off of ACL injuries, but he was the number one player coming out of high school for a reason over all these guys. So he has the potential to really regain what he lost out on at Duke. And I just really like this young roster. I mean, they got the veteran leadership in Randolph, Carter, and George Hill. I'm not sure I like the George Hill signing either, but he'll definitely be a guy that could take some of the load off of De'Aaron Fox on a night-to-night basis and help him really grow into being like a professional. So I really like this roster. Vladi said if you didn't like this roster after the D-Cuz trade, that he should be fired. I think he could keep his job for right now.
I was going to say goodbye.
Why?
Well, you like this roster a lot more than I do. I am not a fan of this roster.
No, I'm a fan of the future of the roster. I feel like they have good young talent at every position. And if these guys really grow in, and we didn't even mention Frank Mason was the college player of the year last year. Like, they have a bunch of guys that could really grow into their own. In the West, they're going to have to grow up fast. So,
yeah.
So I think they could, they're not going to be great this year, but I think in the future they'll be a team that can really grow.
Quick question. Will the Sacramento Kings put in a 3-guard lineup?
Yeah, they'll have to. They'll have to.
Yeah.
And even Justin Jackson, he's a decent player that they drafted. And I really like what they did with that Boogie trade. I mean, they traded Boogie, and at first it seemed like they got nothing from it, but they flipped that Pelicans pick into 2 more picks that got them Giles and Justin Jackson. So, I mean, it looks like they got the better end of the deal with the Pelicans. I mean, the Pelicans got the better player, but they got a lot more out of it.
And they had to get rid of Boogie.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they had
so
to.
definitely.
So,
Considering that they had to get rid of
Yeah.
him, they really put themselves in a better place with that. I'd have to agree with Rod. I really like what the future looks like for this Kings team. Yeah, they're not going to be able to do much this year, but if they can keep this young core together and help them to grow and get more comfortable with each other, if I was a Sacramento fan, I would be very excited for seasons to come in the future.
yeah, and with the young guys I mentioned, like, they're all but Buddy Hield can be really good defenders. Scal could be a rim protector. Willie Cauley-Stein's a guy that could be a rim protector and can switch out onto any guards and stay in front. He has the quickness as a big. De'Aaron Fox is probably already a good defender with his size, a 6'5" point guard. And Buddy Hield's really the only weakness if he doesn't decide he needs to play defense. And Justin Jackson also, like, he was a pretty good defender too coming out of college. So
A lot of length there.
yeah, so they have the potential to really, you know, make some noise down the road. But right now they're still 13th.
I like Scal Labissiere a lot. His size and athleticism, if he can grow into a little more talent on the NBA level, he could really be something special.
And he was projected to be number 1 coming out of high school too, like a number 1 draft pick. And he just had a really, like, tough time at Kentucky. And Calipari even said he just didn't know how to use him the right way. And last year for the Kings, he showed some glimpses of, you know, that potential. So, yeah, they have a lot of young pieces there that can really grow. And
I don't
really do
see
something.
any reason why by midway through the season, Scal shouldn't be starting over Randolph.
Yeah.
If I was an NBA coach,
And
I would start him.
they'll know around that time, like, they'll know they're not going to make the playoffs. I mean, every team comes in 0-0, so every team thinks they can make the playoffs or get to where they want to be. But later on in the season, they'll realize that, and they'll start playing the old guys less, and they'll play the young guys more.
Yeah, same with Cauley-Stein over Costa Koufis. Moving on to number 12, DG.
Number 12, I got the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, this is a roster I'm excited for. I love Lonzo Ball. Oh, man. Lonzo is a guy that I can appreciate because he's a great guy outside of the box score. You actually got to watch him play and see his impact. He is a true point guard. He's not a guy that's going to try to give you 20 points per game, you know, especially not right now. But, you know, people always get caught up in scoring. You don't have to be a great scorer to be a great player. There's a lot of Hall of Famers that struggled to crack 15. All you got to do is everything else. And Lonzo can do everything else. He's a great passer already. That IQ is incredible for his age.
Oh, I've never seen that before.
Man, I feel like he could play passing lanes beyond his years. Man, I feel like he's going to rack up a lot of steals numbers. Oh, man, you know, he can rebound. He's a great size for a point guard, and he's young. That's the best part about it. He's young. Being under Magic, that is the absolutely most perfect situation to be in. I'm really excited about Lonzo, and I'm sure that he might get a chance to play with his brother next year when he gets drafted in the second round. Probably 60th pick. Who knows? But, hey, it's a great situation for that family. Outside of Lonzo, I feel like the KCP move was a great move for them. Y'all should know this as much as I talk about Detroit losing them. I feel like this is the better situation for him than Detroit. And this is a prove yourself situation. You know, contract year, I believe, right?
Yeah, they gave him a 1 year, like, $20 million deal.
Exactly. I'm surprised he got the $20 million. But hey, I know he can ball. I know KCP on his best days can be close to elite. He can be close. So all you got to do is prove him, my man. Keep stroking it from deep, and you got it. I'm really looking at Brandon Ingram, though. They say that he grew 2 inches over the summer, so now he's 6'11". That's ridiculous. If he's 6'11", now we're talking. Because the way he ended last season was pretty good in comparison to the beginning when he was just flat out trash. Like, I've told people, I almost written him off because I felt like he was a worse rookie than Kobe when Kobe was a rookie. But, you know, he's starting to turn around now. Now being 6'11", he's a mismatch. And looking at where the league is going, it's slowly transitioning away from you need a point guard to now you need an athletic wing that can do it all. And the best players in the league are wings, outside of Westbrook and Steph. But it's not like they were exactly pure point guards anyway. They had to become what they are in time. But it's becoming a wings league, and Brandon fits right there. So I feel like he's gonna definitely push MIP. Matter of fact, I'll even say he wins
That's
because
bold.
it's very bold. But think about how bad he was last season. He has a lot of ground to make up and a lot of opportunity to do it. And a coach that believes in him 100%.
Yeah.
Now, going to the rest of the roster, my only thing is I feel like they probably got too much young talent in the same positions. Especially a power forward, Julius Randle, Larry Nance, and Kyle Kuzma.
My
Kyle
boy.
Kuzma is third in the depth chart right now. They better bump that up. They better bump that up. Yeah, I hope Larry or Julius can play center or something. Because if they can't, it'll be a shame if they had to be on the bench. And then, Jordan Clarkson coming off the bench for KCP, I would personally feel a certain type of way that you signed this guy 1 year starting over me. As long as I've been here. With D'Angelo gone, I will feel like I should definitely push starting.
Yeah,
And
but Clarkson knows he plays no defense, and KCP's a lockdown defender.
yeah, but a lot of Detroit's told me that I overrate this guy. They tell me he is wildly inconsistent.
Really?
I was surprised to hear that. Because when he plays the Bulls, he's fairly good at kicking out there. But hey, we'll see what Detroit's talking about because, a lot of us don't watch Detroit anyway. So, hey, you know, will they keep Larry Nance? That's my question for the Lakers. Will they keep Larry Nance? Because I feel like right now, the Lakers should probably keep Julius over him since he's the better player. But
He's
even
about to be a
so,
free agent.
would you want to resign him?
That's the thing. Like, especially with how players are getting paid now, and the Lakers want that spot or that space because this is that free agency year that they've been eyeing.
Yeah, man.
So this might be it for Randall. I'd even try to dangle Randall on some trades this summer or this winter. Honestly,
I'm not mad at that because they can definitely improve that backup point guard. To me, the drop off between Lonzo and Tyler Ennis is significant.
really.
I'm not on the Tyler Ennis bandwagon when it comes to the NBA level. That's just me personally. Having said that, I feel like they need a couple more veterans like how Sacramento was. Brooke, I like him, but I don't know if he's the guiding influence necessary because he's not necessarily a winner. And, he's not going to stay there long anyway. I would want some veterans that will grow with the guys. I know Luol Deng seems somewhat committed. It's his second year there. And that's a good influence. He's been in the playoffs. He's been there kind of deep. And he's a well-respected guy around the league. Andrew Bogut's there. He's a winner. But Bogut, how long do you even want to be there? Like, is this a check or are you actually interested in the culture of the Lakers?
He's not gonna play.
It's not about playing. It's about locker room now. That's what I'm talking about. Actually establishing leadership. That's going to help these guys grow too. More importantly, off the court. We'll see with the Lakers, but I predict a top 15 offense with these guys. So, good luck with y'all.
Rod?
I got the same team. I got the Lakers at number 12. And I kind of broke up the Western Conference into 3 tiers. I had tier 1, which is these 4 teams that I've just mentioned, teams that have no chance of making the playoffs. Tier 2, teams that are fighting for the 8th spot. And then team 3, I have 7 teams in my mind that I believe that are like locks into the playoffs. Back to the Lakers. DG hit every point that I was going to make with this team. I mean, I love Lonzo Ball. He's one of the best passers I've ever seen coming into the league. Even at UCLA, there were some passes he was making. I was just like, dang, he's like ahead of his time in terms of passing. And I even believe if he stays healthy his whole career, he could even challenge John Stockton for that number 1 assist.
Totally disagree.
I think he can because I think he's going to come out this year averaging at least 8 assists. At least. And it can only go up from there. he can be a guy that like averages 12 to 13 assists a season, like average for his career.
13
Yeah,
in
12.
this league?
Yeah, I mean he's gonna have the ball. It's a pick and roll league, and if you surround him with the shooters and guys that just run the floor, it'll be great for him.
It's a pick and roll league, but Scotts were saying that pick and roll was not necessarily his thing.
Who?
Alonzo, like he's more so better when it's on free flow.
Oh, well, then that's even better. If you surround him with shooters and it's free flow and he could get past his guy, get another defender commit. Passing is what he do best.
Yes, it is.
I like KCP signing, like you said. I think Kyle Kuzma is going to end up starting at power forward for the Lakers at some point. I really like Kyle Kuzma. He can do it all: shoot, dribble, defend. He's relentless on defensive end. And he's a high energy guy. If you could have Lonzo Ball with two high energy guys like Kuzma and Ingram, the Lakers are going to be so fun to watch. They may be bad this year, but they're going to be fun to watch. And their teams are not going to want to be caught losing to the Lakers. So they'll be fun to watch this year.
Yeah, I agree with everything both you guys said. One definite thing that I want to highlight what DG said, the drop-off from Ball to Tyler Ennis. I think that's a pretty significant drop-off as well. Ennis has had 3 years to kind of prove himself, and he hasn't really done anything with that. When you look at points, assists, or even when you're actually watching the product, he just doesn't stick out as even a backup point guard to me. So if they can deal someone at the 4 or even one of those non-starting wings, try to pull a decent point guard to help out Lonzo, that would be a really good move for them. Moving on to 11, DG.
Number 11, I have the New Orleans Pelicans. They have the dream front court with Anthony Davis, DeMarcus Cousins. Ignore the small forward. Just focus on the power forward center combination. That's a lot of people's fantasies. A lot of people want that for their 2Ks, making any trade possible, getting rid of the rest of the roster just to have that. 2 Kentucky guys, 2 elite bigs in the league. Some say DeMarcus is the best in the league. Some people who consider Anthony Davis say he's the best center in the league. And for them to play together, and honestly, I feel like they kind of match each other's game pretty okay. You know, it's beautiful. But at the same time, this is a team sport. And you can't just win in the NBA with 2 players. Look at everybody else. Dante Cunningham, Etwan Moore, Darius Miller, Ian Clark. Why did you leave the Warriors? I don't know if it was your choice, but I would have tried to stay there. Rondo's hurt, and that was supposed to be the big free agent addition with Tony Allen. Oh, wait, Tony Allen's hurt too. So now you got Jordan Crawford, who wasn't even in the league for how long? Egjinsa? Huh? Omer Ashik? Huh? As a Bulls fan, what are you doing in this league? Man, if you wanted somebody to set screens, I could have tripped somebody over there. You know, come on, man. You can't do this with this type of talent. And then you notice I left out the name Drew Holiday. He is a part of that, too. I am not a fan of Drew Holiday. He is, yes, I'm giving him the label trash. He's trash. I don't care about that one-time All-Star by accident. I don't care about that one season in Philly. He is doing nothing for you in the West. He needs to go the rest of the team. Oh my God. These guys are the backups to backups in the rest of this team. What is this? Alvin Gentry, goodbye. I mean, the management, please get out of there. This is pathetic. The only reason why I ain't put y'all last is because y'all got 2 stars. And Anthony Davis so happens to keep him in the middle of the bottom by himself. So with Boogie, I would think it's somewhat better. I'll bump you up a spot. Outside of that, it's just awful. This is awful. I'm not even going to look into the stats. Y'all know basketball. You know these guys are nothing. Only thing I like almost is the Check Diallo move. You know, I feel like he could be something in this league. I don't know when, but he could be something. Just, you know, give him some time and then, with these guys, ain't none of them coming off the bench. So he might be a good rotation. I heard so many people feel like DeMarcus is still available. I mean, DeMarcus, I will push my way out because, even though you're playing with AD, that may be your boy. I would just plot on being on another team with each other because this ain't going to cut it. Man, if one of them was going, I won't think it would cut it in the East. Y'all that pathetic to me. I don't want to talk about the Pelicans, no.
You better have that same energy for the rest of the West. You better have the same energy for the rest of the West.
They make me bad. That's different.
Number 11, I have a totally different team. I have the Memphis Grizzlies at 11.
No.
For the same reasons you said. They only have 2 stars, and then it's just like, I see Mike Conley, I see Marc Gasol, and they're 2 stars. They're 2 top guys at their position. They can only do so much every night. And this ESPN projected start lineup, they have Wayne Selden starting at the 2. And I like JaMychal Green. He's a good 3-and-D guy at the 4 position. James Ennis, he's a Heat guy, and I love Coach Fizdale, but I just don't see them doing much in the West. They're literally gonna have to count on Mike Conley and Marc Gasol to do everything every night. And man, the biggest robbery, the biggest criminal in the NBA is Chandler Parsons because of that because of that contract he has. Man, the guy, he robbed them. Chandler Parsons, I think. I mean, he can't have a bounce back year, but they're not even starting him right now. But max contract bounce back, nah, dude. You have to make the All-Star team over KD and all those guys for him to validate that now at this point.
Bounce back.
But yeah, I don't really like much other than those 2 stars, and those guys are going to carry them. They're going to win them some games. And I like the Tyreek Evans signing, but I don't see how he really fits those 2 guys because they kind of need more shooting than they do slashing. But I love the Ben McLemore, but he's hurt. He's going to be out for a while. So I don't know. Injuries in the West, that'll hurt you because every single game matters in the Western Conference.
Yeah, I'd like to see Tyreek Evans come up and start over Selden as well. But moving on to 10, already to the top 10 teams in the West. DG.
Number 10, I got the Utah Jazz. I'm sorry, I don't have the same energy for Utah because they actually have potential. But let's talk about Utah. Now we're getting to the teams where I feel like they have a chance to make the playoffs. On paper, a lot of people are probably thinking I'm losing my mind. But you got to understand what's going on over there. You got to look deep into that culture. That was the best defensive team in this league last year. 96 points per game in this era. That's amazing. Rudy Gobert, I talked to Hot Rod the other day about who's more important to the Utah Jazz. Was it Rudy Gobert or Gordon Hayward? What was your answer, Rod?
Rudy Gobert.
Agreed. Rudy Gobert makes everything go for Utah. I feel like he's going to be the defensive player of the year. He's going to get the award that a lot of people thought he was supposed to win last year. I was on Draymond's side, but nevertheless, Rudy Gobert to me is going to push this All-Star thing. I can't guarantee he'll make it, but he's been talking that I'm the best setter in the league thing for so much.
He's not.
It's hard. I say he's not, but it's hard because he's so good on that end. My thing is, Rudy, what can you give me offensively? Can you score on your own? Because I'm not a fan of one of those bigs that got to depend on the pick and roll and the point guard so heavily. I like bigs who are still basketball players, guys that can work on their own, guys that got their own moves, at least something to go to, guys that can affect, that has more than one thing, guys that don't have a niche. I'm not going as far as say that Rudy has a niche because I think he's a hella fire rebounder, but offensively, man, you slightly above Ben Wallace to me. I just got to see more in that end, and then I'll give you that. Outside of Rudy Gobert, I like the transformation of Ricky Rubio. It's weird kind of seeing this because we seen guys come into the league who were combo guards trying to transition into being a pure guard at the point. Ricky is transforming from a pure point guard to the NBA traditional scoring point guard. And I like it. I like a Ricky Rubio that has a little dark side to him and sees like he's hungry. He's attacking. I saw a preseason game the other day where he was just jacking up shots, but didn't really care about dimes, but the team was just doing so well. It worked. Ricky Rubio, to me, is the most slept-on defender in this league. He is a great defender on ball, and he's pesky when grabbing steals, too, as well. So I really like this Ricky Rubio move. All eyes on Rodney Hood. To me, he's in that MIP category because without Gordon Hayward, the wing position is on you, dog. I mean, Joe Ingles is a great player on both sides as well, but, he's not the guy that's really just going to push. He's the guy that's going to do what the team needs. Rodney, they need you to push. They need you to hit that 20 point per game. Maybe even a little more if you can. But, the way that the West is at right now, just make gradual steps. Just make the future look bright. At this moment, I just have to say right team, wrong conference. That's the point where the Utah is at.
Yeah, you hit that right on the head. I think from Memphis on my list, it's right team, wrong conference, honestly.
Memphis couldn't make it in the East either?
No, I'm saying they're in the West. That's why I don't think they'll make it. But if they're in the East, they would.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Whew.
Oh, no, they would easily make it in the East.
Oh, okay,
I think they'd be like a top 6 seed, honestly.
Yeah.
But my number 10 is the Portland Trailblazers. I feel like they're in the same boat as Memphis. Only 2 studs and everyone else. I mean, I love Damian Lillard. I love CJ McCollum. I think they're 2 of the best backcourt players in the league. I like Yusuf Nurkic, but can he stay healthy? That's the big question. Could he be okay being the third option? I mean, I heard he had some trouble in Denver for not getting touches, and he didn't like that. So I wonder if he's going to like that here in Portland. I like Evan Turner. I like Maurice Harkless. Like, I like them enough to compete in the West, but I just don't think they have enough to really make the playoffs. But I do like the pickup of Zach Collins in the draft. I think they made the right move trading those 2 picks to get him. If he can grow, he's one of those guys that could shoot really well and block shots, and that's kind of where the league's trending now. And if Yusuf Nurkic decides to leave this year in free agency, he's a guy that could step in next year and really take that 3rd spot for them.
Moving on to 9, DG.
See, 9 is difficult because I have to group 9 and 8 together because either or can make the 8th seed. I just don't know. It's too many factors going to the situation that prevents me from making a high probability or something I'm just confident in picking. So I'm going to go over these 2 teams. I agree with Portland Trailblazers, but I'm going to also throw in the Los Angeles Clippers as well. Let me start with the Blazers since you touched up on them real quick. I like the supporting cast of the Blazers more than definitely the Pelicans. And it's some of these guys I feel like will definitely get a lot of minutes in Memphis that you kind of slept on, in my opinion. I like Al-Farouq Aminu as a defender. He can play small or power forward, and he'll do just fine. Mo Harkless, I agree, was okay. Nurkic, to me, a lot of people are looking at him to really push that top 10 center spot. I'm like, man, he kind of just got there. But I know, watching Denver, him and Jokic were just supremely talented, and there was no way that they can play together. Definitely not long term.
And I'm glad Denver made the right decision in keeping Jokic.
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, because if Portland would have got Jokic, we wouldn't be talking about them this early.
No, they'd be top 5.
Oh yeah, definitely 5th, but top 5 nonetheless. It's just CJ and Dame is so good. Now I know people are thinking like AD's a top 5 player. DeMarcus Cousins best center in the league. Kill that. We're talking about guys that produce in the playoffs. Guys that led their team to the playoffs multiple times. Guys that hit big shots in the playoffs. Guys that didn't blow a lead and got swept. Now, I will admit, last year, Blazers got lucky with the injuries to the Clippers. And if you're playing Austin Rivers as the starting point guard, you better win. But at the same time, Dame is to me, he was the best non-all-star last year. It wasn't even close. Like, it was a joke that he didn't make it. CJ is only getting better. Offensively, they're unguardable. They have no limitations. To me, they are just going to light it up. They're a top backcourt in this league. The bench, is a significant drop off. We know this. To me, Myers Leonard is a disappointment. If he was actually something, there would be no reason for Nurkic to be over here. They thought he was going to be a stretch 5 that was athletic. He's not. He can hit the 3, sure, but he's not a starting caliber NBA player. Ed Davis, Noah Vonleh, who's better? I don't know. Same level. Neither one of them should be considered for second, in my opinion. To me, these are 10th guys out the rotation. I like Evan Turner still. It seemed like only Chicago guys mess with Evan, but I know what Evan can do. It's times where he came through really, really well for like Brad Stevens in a couple years ago, and he still got his game, man. He still got his game. It's just it's a new league and he can't shoot, but he's been working. So you could go wrong with anybody else backing up that 3.
And that's the thing with the Blazers I didn't really touch much on is they lost shooting. They don't really have shooters outside of Lillard and McCollum. I mean, Aminu's okay at best.
He just got there.
Harkless is okay at best. And Evan Turner isn't really a good shooter. And then other than that, they just don't have anyone that can really shoot the ball that well.
I agree. But then
I feel like they made a mistake trading Crabbe, but also they didn't make a mistake because of his contract. But as a player, they're really going to miss Crabbe.
They're going to miss him. They definitely are, because I feel like he was vital for their future. At the same time, though, looking at the Clippers, it's such a what-if team. What if Patrick Beverly and, Sam Decker and Montrez don't work out? What if the trade becomes lopsided? Because it looks like they got a lot on paper, but we will only know if they play. I mean, we've known Patrick Beverly to be such a defensive guy. There's no guarantee that that offense is going to grow. I look at Teodosic, and I like him a lot. I like Teodosic a lot. But at the same time, it's like, will he be able to be a starting point guard, in the NBA? I feel like he can. I feel like he's probably going to be one of these guys that are top 5 in assists. And he definitely can shoot. But he can't defend anybody. And that's going to hurt the Clippers a lot. Gallinari, I love that pickup because he's the small forward they've been needing for the longest. He came in a year too late. But to me, he's going to produce. My eyes are on Blake and DeAndre. Can Blake lead a team to the playoffs by himself? I have no confidence in him. I don't trust his maturity as a leader. I don't think he is one. DeAndre, I love what he does. I don't see his game expanding. I don't think a player like him can be the best player on a playoff team. It will have to be on Blake. Can you trust Blake to make the season? I don't care how much you put up. Can you last it, my man? Stay healthy. A lot of the times we're due to bonehead decisions. Keep your composure. And I really want your game to really be in its best year this year, because we've been waiting so long. It's getting to the point where Blake is becoming the Dwight Howard of power forwards. He hasn't become what we thought he would be. As great as he has been at first, it's one thing to put up numbers, but numbers don't always translate to domination because it's about when it happens. And I don't feel like Blake has dominated. Dominated is such a strong word to me. And I don't feel like that fits Blake. And then when we go to coaching, I can't stand Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers is overrated as hell. To me, he got lucky in 2008 with the trades because he was supposed to be out of here. He was not supposed to be in Boston. I don't feel like he's a great, excellent old guy. To me, he's a motivator. To me, he had too much in his hands, so bringing in Jerry West was beautiful. But at the same time, I don't feel like this is a guy that you should keep longer than 2 years. I feel like Doc Day should be number. If they're not, you're never going to see the NBA championship.
Rod?
Since you're grouping 8 and 9, I'm gonna do the same because I feel the same way about these two teams. I feel like it could be either or. At number 8B, I got the Utah Jazz. For everything you touched on, I think this team was a great defensive team last year. They're one of the best defenses in the league. They got better on defense, even though they lost out on Hayward. Joe Ingles is a really good defender. He's one of those guys, you look at him, you're like, there's no way he should be good on defense. Like, you should kill him every time. But then he's one of those guys that he's going to get in your junk, and he'll be in your junk all day, all night. And players really don't like it when he guards them, and he gives them a tough time. Ricky Rubio is one of the best guard defenders. Rudy Gobert, he touched on, is his pick for Defensive Player of the Year. I disagree. We all know my guy. Whiteside's my pick. I really like Derek Favors, too. I think he's been hurt a lot, and he was the number 3 pick for a reason. And I think this is his time to sort of take a step forward, play that 4 to start, and then I know they're going to stagger his minutes with Gobert and play him at center, too. So he'll have his chance to, carry the offensive load a little bit, and whether he can expand on that is on him. They also have Joe Johnson. This guy's one of the best clutch players in the league. And especially with how good defensively they are, if it's like an 89-92 game, 89-90, Joe Johnson's that guy that could get you that bucket. And he proved that in the playoffs last year. And I didn't even mention Tabo. Tabo's one of the better defenders in the league, too. So they can have a lineup with all defenders and just really guard people and not let them score.
Is there enough offense to get them past the first round?
No.
Okay.
No. I think they have enough to fight for the playoffs and be an 8 or 9 seed. But first round, they'd be playing my number 1 pick, Golden State. So
yeah, but projection seedings, to me, they could be as high as, let's say, 6. So what if they don't get Golden State? They get an OKC or a Spurs or maybe even a Houston. Is that enough? It's a shot.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. They don't have enough. Well, the thing is, though, the playoffs slows down more. So if it turns into a half-court game, honestly, they would be a team no one would want to play. That's for sure. They're a team for sure no one would want to play. And I didn't even mention their rookie, Donovan Mitchell or Alex Burke. Those are 2 guys that could play a lot on other teams. And Donovan Mitchell, he's a rookie. They're going to give him some time to really grow into his role. And Alec Burke's been hurt too, but when he's on, when he's healthy, he's a good player. I like him as a slasher.
No doubt.
And he could get buckets. So I really like the Jazz as 8B. As the other 8 team that I have that's fighting for that last spot, the New Orleans Pelicans. I completely disagree with how you feel about this roster. They have the 2 stars in Boogie and Anthony Davis, but those 2 are such versatile bigs. Like, they're not bigs that are slow and immobile. Like, they're guys that can move, they can switch, they can play good defense. Boogie's out on the perimeter, AD's rim protecting. They're really a team that could really reverse the trend of the league right now if they figure it out. And I feel like they've had the last half of last year and a whole training camp. Because last year when they got together, they weren't as good to start with, but they didn't have a training camp. They never played with each other. They never practiced with each other. This year they had a full offseason. And I really like the addition of Rondo. I know he's not going to play early, but Rondo has one of the best basketball minds. Even though he has his limitations, like can't shoot, that the big man game with him and AD and D-Cuz, it's going to be scary for some teams. And Drew Holiday, you think he's trash. I don't think he's trash. I think he's a little more valuable than trash. When he's on, he's a guy that could, put on 18 points a game. I'd say 16 to 20, especially on this team because they're going to need that scoring from him.
20?
16 to 20. He could probably put up 20.
16 to 18.
This team could be really good defensively as well because they have the rim protection. They have guards that could get into you because Drew Holiday's a plus defender. Rajon Rondo, when he wants to be, he's a plus defender. Dante Cunningham at the 3 or Solomon Hill when he gets back, he's a plus defender. And then you have AD and D-Cuz guarding the rim. So they can really get into you, and then they have the star power to get you over the top. So that's why I kind of had them above Utah because they have the scoring, but they can be really good defensively as well.
Moving on to 7, DG.
Number 7th, I have the Memphis Grizzlies. I feel about Memphis how you feel about the Pelicans. At the same time, I have a little more respect for Memphis than you do the Pelicans because I feel like this is close to a lock. Man, I understand there's a lot of these 2 stars, crappy supporting cast things going on. I see this trend in the West. But this is a little different because now we starting getting into coaching. You know, I love the Utah coach and all.
Quinn Snyder, yeah, he's a great coach. I love him.
Most definitely. That's why I said that they could still make the playoffs. But I love Dave Fizdale as well.
Take that for data.
Man.
Remember that?
Yes, most definitely. As long as he don't play Kawhi Leonard, he will keep his composure. He's going to be in that tree of, you know, Greg Popovich, Brad Stevens, Rick Carlisle. I'll even put Eric Spoelstra over there. You know, I feel like Dave is going to be what Doc Rivers was supposed to be.
Wow.
Hey, I really don't like Doc. I don't like Glenn.
Hey, I do agree with you. I think Doc is so overrated.
You know,
as a coach, but
you know,
I can get into that later on.
Hey, but you know what I like about the Mike Conley, Marc Gasol situation is it's a guard big. The versatility, you know, and these guys are in different positions, different responsibilities, and it's not guys that are going to get in the way of each other. I like that. I like how Dave unlocked Marc Gasol and showed off the three-point sniper, just like his brother, who was even better percentage-wise, which is crazy how good the Gasol brothers are in the game of basketball. But the defense is still there. Mark, to me, is the best center in the league still because he could lead his team to prosperity. He led his team to victories, you know, and it's bigger than just going to the playoffs. Like, he even led the team to the Western Conference Finals. You know, I highly respect that. With a lot of these bigs, they got a lot of potential and athletic gifts, but they've been losers. Okay, that's kind of strong. They've been losing. I'll be nice. But Mark, he's one of those, I'm going to do anything I can got of guys, you know. As long as you win, that's all right with me. Mike, to me, he's going to have his best season this year, and he still won't make the All-Star team, which is so sad. He would probably be a perennial All-Star in the East. But, you know, since he's in the West, he got to deal with these dogs. But, you know, dealing with that, Mike is still going to get his.
Quick question. Kemba Walker made his first All-Star team last year. Isaiah, right? Last year was his first, right?
I believe so.
Do you think Mike Conley would make it over them
Yes.
every year?
Yes. Yes. Maybe not Isaiah Thomas last year because he just did wonders for the Celtics. But he would have made it over Kemba. I mean, he definitely would have made it over Kemba. He's a better player than Kemba. To me, he's a better leader than Kemba.
Kemba is the best player on his team by far, and he gets buckets.
At the same time, the All-Star games, they look at, a lot of them, they look at guys that are winning. Charlotte has been so disappointing for so long. Like, Kemba, you know, the only time I would have said that he would even be considered for consideration was the year that they went to the playoffs a couple years ago, which you guys put him off. But at the same time, honestly, I feel like if you put Mike Conley in there instead of Kemba, Charlotte is making the playoffs more often than they're not. Mike Conley is that good, and if you put Kemba on Memphis, you finally get your out of the playoffs Memphis because it's just things that Kemba can't do mentally that Mike Conley brings. Mike Conley would be the perfect guy for Charlotte. But let's talk about how he's the perfect guy for Memphis. Both ways, you know, he's a two-way defender, so you ain't got to worry about a drop-off in that position as opposed to, you know, guys just worry about outscoring each other. He will get into you. He's a clutch player. We seen that against the Spurs where, my God, when Kawhi was just making everything in the fourth, Mike Conley kept them afloat, him and Marc Gasol. They step up when you need them the most. You know, they have victories over OKC. You know, they've beaten the Spurs in the playoff before. These are veterans that have good wins under their belt in playoffs. They're not a regular season team. That's why I can't put them any higher. But in the playoffs, don't nobody want to see them. Nobody wants to see them. And the fact that they're getting younger is great to me. Jermichael Green, he's not the post player that Zach Randolph is. We know that. But he's a guy that can guard you. He's a guy that can rebound. You know, he can hit an occasional three here and there. He's athletic as heck. You know, he's a guy that they kind of needed. Small forward is a huge hole. I like James. Don't get me wrong. But to me, they would highly benefit if they could get another wing. I wish they was in that Paul George, Jimmy Butler sweepstakes, because if they were to get one of those guys, shoot, forget just making the playoffs. That's a top 3 team, in my opinion.
Oh, that would be scary. That would be scary.
You know, just talking this year and not the future, I think Jimmy with the Grizzlies would be better than Jimmy with the Timberwolves because the Timberwolves are not developed yet. But we'll get to the Timberwolves. You know, but for now, Tyreek Evans is pretty good for what they have him coming off the bench. I like the growth of Aaron Drew Harrison. Slowly but surely it's coming. You know, I'm hoping Wayne Selden can make a name for himself in this league because, you know, Memphis is highly slept on. They don't really have that much star power. Not to say he'll be a star, but all you got to do is win, and your best players are going to be appreciated more. Chandler Parsons. And then, you know, going to Ben McLemore. You know, if he could turn his career around, that would be great for that 2-guard position as well because he got the tools. You know, he was projected to be a great shooter. It hasn't happened yet, but
who was he compared to?
The draft expert said he was going to be the next Ray Allen. Obviously, it was not the case. He might got Ray Allen's athleticism in Milwaukee, but that's as close as it is. But hey, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong.
Rod?
All right, here's where my playoff locks are in. At number 7, I have the LA Clippers. I think they're a playoff lock because I honestly think they're a much better and deeper team than they were in the past years. Even though they lost Chris Paul, I feel like Teodosic can really do what Chris Paul did on offense. I think he's Chris Paul without defense, honestly. Like, he's so good. I was watching him in the preseason, and, man, some of the passes he was doing, I couldn't believe it. Like, I think he's already one of the top passers in the league. If I had to rank passers in the league, it'd be tough, but he'd be top 7, I think, in terms of just pure passing. I like Pat Beverly as a defender. Him and DeAndre together, that's going to be crazy good on defense because he's going to dog the best guard, and then you got DeAndre there just protecting the rim. And then Blake, this is your time. You got what Kyrie wanted without asking for it. Like, this is your team now. So you prove to us how good of a player you are. And I believe that you can be an MVP type candidate player. I mean, a few years ago, you were top 5 in MVP voting, and he was healthy. So if he can stay healthy, I think Blake Griffin is going to take that big step and really put his name back in the lights. Plus,
his shooting has really come around.
Yeah, and he's hitting threes now. And Gallinari, like you were saying, came a year too late, but at the same time, this is the year they needed him because without him on this roster, they're down with the other teams. But with him on this roster, he gives them that shooting element, great shooter. And he's a guy that can post up too. Gallinari's 6'10". Like, their front line is huge. Like, they're starting 7 foot, 6'11", 6'10", or 6'10", 6'10". So they're starting huge up front. And then at the guard spots, I already mentioned Beverly and Teodosic. And then they got Lou Will coming off the bench. And Austin Rivers. Austin Rivers is okay, serviceable player if used in the right role, and his dad's not the coach. But Lou Will is a guy that just gets buckets too. So they have a pretty deep roster. And I didn't even mention Sam Decker or Wesley Johnson and Montrezl Harrell and Willie Reed. Those are guys that could, be in the rotations on any other league, or any other team. I really like this roster.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Is that the best front court in compared to the rest of the teams that we named?
I would say so.
Yeah, I would say so, honestly.
Over New Orleans as well for you?
Yeah, because of the Gallinari.
Mm-hmm.
Because DeAndre is, although he can't shoot or can't make a free throw, he's really good at what he's good at. Like, he's elite at what he's good at. And Blake Griffin can do everything, honestly, but defend. But he has DeAndre backing him up. And the same for Gallinari. Gallinari's a good shooter. He can post up. You could even run pick and rolls for him. And same as Blake. Blake Griffin, DeAndre with shooters around them, pick and roll like that, that's pretty scary with your 4-man doing that. So they can be pretty creative. I wish they had a better X's and O coach to, really exploit that type of stuff. But like you were saying, Doc, man, this is the year Doc needs to prove that he's still got it as a coach.
Yeah,
or at
plenty
least
of years to prove that.
or at least talk them into doing the right thing, But
Yeah.
I think they have a nice roster.
Yeah, it's just really pleasing to look at. It's really well constructed. They've got a really good starting 5, and then after that, they have some depth too. You didn't say a lot about Willie Reed, but he's good enough that
He's like a poor man's version of DeAndre.
yeah,
Honestly.
I would just say that he's good enough that if DeAndre has to take a seat and rest, you don't have to worry about
Exactly.
a seriously significant drop off.
Exactly.
I would want them to be a little stronger at the 2 if they were going to really compete in the playoffs. But overall, it's just a very well-balanced, well-constructed
But
team.
the thing is, if I'm Doc, if I was an NBA coach, I would start Beverly at the 2 because he started at the 2 technically last year for Harden, and start Teodosic, and Beverly can guard the better guard. There's not many backcourts nowadays that can kill you with both players. So Teodosic, can do a good job of, like following a guy like Klay Thompson around or something because he's a bigger guard, but he's not going to be able to guard like CJ McCollum, a guy that just break you down.
No.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but the NBA is like that now. Shooting guards are more like Klay Thompson-like and more like Bradley Beals that just go around screens, and rather than guys that could just break you down.
And
like
he's
they
got
used to be.
other guys on that defense that could step up and help him out.
Exactly, and you have DeAndre, so he could just play up and not let up the 3, and DeAndre could clean up. So that's what really the value of him, and like having guys like him and Gobert and Whiteside. Those centers, they're not there as much anymore, but the ones that are still there, they're very valuable.
Moving on to 6.
Number 6, I have the Denver Nuggets. Little fun fact, Denver scored the 3rd most points in the league last year. More points than Cleveland, Clippers, Washington. OKC, was the Westbrook show without KD, so no surprise there. San Antonio, all those. Denver can get buckets, and you absolutely need to score in the West. Defense, improving. Here's why it's improving. Paul Millsap, very, very underrated just all around. But defensively, Paul Millsap does wonders. He could collect steals and blocks. He could guard wings and bigs. Paul Millsap is great on help side as well as on ball. People don't really look at Millsap, and he's sneaky athletic, but he can really, really produce on that end of the court. Not just offense. Come on, we're talking about an all-star here. People really forget that Paul Millsap is an all-star. But he's really, really going to do something for Denver. They was on the verge of breaking out last year, but they were just missing something. I think something was Paul Millsap. I don't think he'll be an all-star this year. Not because of play, but just because y'all won't pay attention. But I do think Jokic will be an all-star. Jokic, to me, is going to be in a running for top center in the league, to me. He is that good. I've never seen a center distribute like that in my life. Like, it's so easy for him. Like, I thought the Gasol brothers, or to a lesser degree, Joakim Noah, was up to that in his heyday. Jokic just blew them out the water. I have a young life. I'm 24 years old. I haven't seen all the passing bigs in the world, but from me watching basketball since basically 98 up, I've never seen a better passer than Jokic. But it's not just passing. He's a really good post player. He could collect boards. He's not defending much, but if he could just stay there and take charges, that would do wonders. That's positive production defensively. He just needs to stay in position and just box out. He would be just fine. But offensively, he is going to make this Denver team go. Outside of Jokic and Millsap, looking at the smaller guys, I really like Gary Harris. I'm not a big fan of the price per se, but it's an investment in the future. And he is a 3D guy. Gary to me is on an upward trend. I don't see him having all-star potential. He may sneak in a year later on in his career, maybe like once or twice. But, I feel like he's going to be, highly productive when it comes to the playoffs. Because I'm sure people are going to sleep on him in the scouting reports because they're going to be centered around Paul Millsap and Jokic. But I feel like Gary, even watching him in Michigan State, he wreaks havoc, man. You don't want to see Gary on the court when he's guarding you. Like, I feel like he's going to end up being one of the better defenders in this league. I like Jamal Murray. Since Brad is a Kentucky guy, I got to show him some love.
I know all about it.
I expect him to take Emmanuel Moutier's spot, who I'm so disappointed in. So disappointed in. I really thought Moutier was going to make a name in this league from the jump. But, Jamal Murray, even watching him in college and Moutier in college, I thought Jamal Murray probably was the better college player too. Jamal Murray gets buckets. You don't have to worry about passing so much in this offense because Jokic is going to handle facilitation. But Jamal Murray is a microwave. He can hit it from anywhere. When he's hot, forget it. There's no guard that's stopping that. He's that good. And if he can make that step upward to be what we know him to be that second year, it's just going to be lights out for those two. In the future, they might push that best backcourt, position once these guys start getting older, up in age and up and coming, because at least they're going to be together. They're going to grow with each other. It's not going to be projection with these two. Small forward, I mean, people been asking for Wilson Chandler for the longest in trades. Will Barton had a hot year. He's not trash, but I feel like they could be better at the three. But for now, they're fine because Denver could really benefit from shooting. They definitely can shoot. The starting five, if you replace Moutier with Murray, can shoot. Off the bench, I don't see much shooting, so get as much as you can. Kenneth Faried should be gone by now. I know they've been looking for him to get up out of here. I feel like this year will be the year. I wish Mason Plumlee could get a little more time because I feel like he can really help down low, passing and getting rebounds. But hey, we'll see what coach decides to do. And get rid of a power forward. I should not see 5 power forwards in one roster in 2017. That's kind of ridiculous.
With 3 centers.
You feel me? Oh, man. So, hey, but Trey Lyles, man, if he could get some time, I feel like he could actually produce a little bit. He's a stretch big. I don't see him defending anything at all, but this team is so built on scoring, he fits right in the mold off the bench. It's not like you need to guard bench players anyway because he's going to be playing second string. So, hey, they got potential. They're not making it past the first round, but they got potential.
Yeah, it'd be nice if they could deal Faried, get a little more depth on the wings. I know they added Richard Jefferson, and that's going to drop off Jameer Nelson. But
thank God.
He's not going to help him. I don't see him making that big of a difference.
I think he's a stable guy in their locker room. He'll be a good locker room guy, and he'll be a guy that can play, minutes on the wings for them if they need him to.
It's always good to add a champion.
Yeah.
So, Rod, your pick at 6?
My pick at 6 is the Minnesota Timberwolves. I believe that they're going to need some time to really figure things out because they have a lot of guys that haven't played with each other. And they really just, constructed this team, this summer. They traded for Jimmy Butler, got Jeff Teague, signed Taj. And one thing that I think that people aren't really talking about that can really hurt them early on is Karl Towns and Andrew Wiggins on the defensive end. They're great players, great prospects, Karl Towns is already one of the best centers in the league. Andrew Wiggins has the potential to be one of the best wing players in the league. And they got Jimmy Butler, who's one of the best defenders and one of the best two-ways in the league. There's not many guys I'm picking over Jimmy Butler in the NBA. But I just have a feeling that they're just going to need some time. And they're 1 year away from being elite in my book. They just have to figure things out. And really, we have to see Carl Towns and Wiggins take the next step. Now, depth wise, I feel like they're a little short on depth as well. They have Jamal Crawford, who's a good 6 man, but he's 38 now. He's gonna drop off at some point. Shabazz is okay, but he hasn't really lived up to what he was supposed to be coming out of high school. And Gorgie Jang is an okay uh, backup center. I think he can start on some teams. And I really like him, but other than that, they don't really have much. You have three good guys, and Tyus, we'll see if he can take the next step and being a good backup point guard. But that's about it. They'll be a top 6 seed in the West, and that's a big step from where they were before. So this isn't a really you know a disappointment if they end up at 6.
Yeah, I like that Minnesota team. A lot of firepower, and it's been nice to see how far they've come along. Karl Anthony Towns is just something to watch. He's a really great player, and he's come a long way. Now to the top 5, Dee Greatest.
One thing I forgot to mention is this team is just super athletic. Like they have athletes at every position, and even Taj, like he's an athlete, even though he's a little older now, but he's still a guy that can run, pretty athletic, can rebound, and he and Karl Towns kind of complement each other very well because Taj could play that inside game a little bit. You could give him a little couple post touches a game, and Towns can really shoot it as well. So the spacing on their floor could be rough at times, but at the same time, it could be a real asset once guys are on.
Most definitely, and that's why they are my 5th pick. Well, 5th seed, I should say. My thing about Minnesota, out of all the playoff teams, to me, they have the most bust potential. Things can go really good, and they look like they're going really good. But at the same time, I feel like things could go really bad if they caught some bad breaks. For instance, we know the miles that Jimmy Butler put on in Chicago, now rocking with Tibbs again.
Oof.
You know, when I think of Jimmy, I always think of Lua. Jimmy's a better player than Lua. Don't get me wrong, Lua was nice, all-star, but, you know, Jimmy is pushing that top 10 if he's not already there. If Jimmy Butler gets hurt, I don't think Minnesota's going to make the playoffs. I think he's that vital to that season.
Yep.
You know, Karl Anthony is fantastic, but he was already fantastic. Andrew Wiggins is not fantastic. I feel like Jimmy's going to be huge in Andrew Wiggins' game and help him mature and play some defensive ones. Goodness, you got all the tools in the world to be a lockdown defender, and you don't even care to use them.
Coming into the league, everyone thought he was going to be a good defender and not a good shooter, and it's like the opposite.
It's still the opposite, you know, and it's ridiculous. I mean, you know, but Wiggins to me was always a guy that was score first anyway. But to me, his offense is not good enough to ignore playing defense. He's not James Harden. You need to really shape up because if this team can have 2 lockdown defenders or 2 really good defenders, that would help them a lot. A lot. You know, Jeff Teague is cool for now, but to me, he's not the point guard of the future. I don't feel like they found the point guard of the future yet. I feel like Tyus Jones will always be a pretty good rotational piece, but I don't feel like he's going to jump up to that level of a player. But I really like him. To me, he's a guy that you would want on his team, and as a veteran, I could see him on a championship team. You know, hitting the big shot, not playing much type guy. But, you know, Tyus can play. Aaron Brooks and Jamal Crawford, some savvy veterans off the bench, guys that were traditionally great 6 men. Hell, of course, Jamal Crawford was, you know, 6 man a year multiple times. I just question how much they have left in the tank because Jamal looked like crap last year. And Aaron, I wouldn't say he's that much better. Shabazz, I had so much faith in this man. But I had to realize he was a man in high school. So, of course, he looked as good as he does. But now in a league when he's playing with people his age, he's not playing that well. I feel like, but I still feel like for a second unit guy, he can produce. I feel like it helped more than hurt by bringing him back. You know, but who the heck is that power forward coming off the bench?
Bjelica,
I don't know anything about him. I'm not even gonna lie to you.
he's a stretch guy. He could shoot it a little bit.
Is he a viable NBA player?
Yeah, at times.
What you think, BT?
I have no idea.
What the stats look like?
Looking at the stats, he's your typical second man at power forward. 5 points a game.
You know, who he reminds me of sort
Uh,
of like Mike Muscala. Like
Oh,
he's
shit.
that type of player. Like
Well, he looks like
or
Mike
like Ilya
Muscala.
Slova. Like you know what I mean?
Well, Gorgie, I hope you could play the 4. I know you can, so I expect you to do that. I like the Muscala thing. That is not a recommendation. So Gorgie's gonna see a lot of time coming off the bench. You know, he's probably gonna have the best shot of a big to win 6th man of the year since Taj, who's starting now. It's kind of ironic to me. Tibbs, this is on you, man. Cause if you can't get this to work, you kind of need to go. You kind of need to go as a coach. As a GM, I think that's the position. Yeah, GM or president.
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 I think
Okay.
he's president and coach.
Okay, president, you could stay. Because I feel like you building the team well. But I didn't see that much improvement defensively since they fired their last coach to now. Like, for Wiggins to actually be projected as a defender and for him to be that bad defensively, I feel like that falls to your responsibility. Yes, Wiggins is a grown man, but you're a coach. Hold him responsible. Hold him accountable. You have the reputation of getting at everybody and nobody can challenge you and they play their hardest. Prove it. Prove it. And this is a guy that loved you. I was sad to see you go, but you made me look like a fool this last year. So I need to see it, man. Because right now you kind of look out of touch with the league. Just a little bit.
I'm usually a Tibbs advocate, but I can definitely agree with what you're saying. I think this is a year where he really needs to prove himself as a coach, and he's got the opportunity to do so if he can bring the best out of these guys.
Yeah, and in Chicago they were saying he didn't have enough, and now he definitely has enough. But obviously he's in the West now. But we'll just have to see how he does as a coach. But I'm a big Tibbs guy, and I think he will pull it off. And I think that's why he did what he did and went out and got Jimmy Butler. Not a lot of people would have traded Zach LaVine where he was in his career. So he needed one of his own guys, one of the guys that he was successful with. Why not? Butler can really get Wiggins to be a defender. I think he can because he'll be on him every day.
Your 5 team?
My number 5 team is the Denver Nuggets. I think the Denver Nuggets will be a better regular season team than the T-Wolves, but I don't think they're a better team overall. Having to go to, Mile High, Denver, playing in that altitude, and they like to play fast and shoot a lot of threes. Not a lot of teams really like that, like playing in that atmosphere, and especially like those teams in the East, when they go over, they usually are playing on back-to-back nights or they're on those those long West Coast trips. That's where Denver takes advantage, and that's why they've always been so fast, and they were so good with George Karl. And I think this team will be one of those fast teams again. Like remember high-scoring Denver, doesn't really play any defense, but they'll just try to outscore you. And I really love Jokic, like DG was saying. Paul Millsap was a great pickup. He could really help Jokic on the defensive end and really be another facilitator of that offense. I like Wilson Chandler, Gary Harris, Jamal Murray, UK guy. I think he's a guy that really, once he comes into his own, like he can be like a top scorer, not in the league, but on this team. Like could be a 20-point per game scorer. Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So, and Gary Harris is a good 3-and-D guy. So this is a team that could really shoot the ball. Moutier has been disappointing, but I think he's a guy that could be trade bait.
Absolutely.
And they could probably get a little asset out of him. But even then, if he stays on this team and, takes on that 6-man role, he could be a really good 6-man. If he, with those guys, he could be a 6-man, score, really focus on scoring in the second unit and just leading that second unit. I think he could be a good player for them there.
I don't think he's interested in that personally.
Yeah, I don't
At
think
this
so.
stage of his career, So that's why I'm kind of against the idea. And the last thing Denver needs is chemistry issues. I mean, they had George Karl as a coach for years. To me, they just got their locker room back right.
Hmm.
I wouldn't do anything that messes with that.
But I think if you can motivate him to want to be a starter but not start him, I think he'll be motivated to prove that he should be a starter. If that makes sense.
But then eventually, it's going to get to a point where
So if
he's going to be thinking, well, it's time for me to be a starter.
and that's when you trade him.
And that's when Moody Abe goes to Miami.
Nah, we don't want him. We don't need him. We already have too many guards.
Trade Goran Dragic. Not playing.
No way.
He's older. I was playing.
All right, moving on to 4.
Number 4, I got the San Antonio Spurs. 4 seems kind of low, knowing how the Spurs are, that we know them to be. But let me tell you all some things. They were second in points per game allowed. I love that. They're 14th in points per game. I don't love that. To me, the Spurs are too good to have an average offense. And to me, there's no guarantee their defense would be as elite as a unit. I mean, come on. Kawhi Leonard is going to forgive a lot of sins. I get that. And, of course, you can't sleep on Danny Green defensively. But it's just so hard to have faith looking at it on paper. I can't believe what Greg has done with Powell defensively. Like, where the heck was this in Chicago? But he's all right. But at the same time, how many times can you keep doing it? How many times can you stretch every ounce of ability of these players to the point where they outplay themselves? It's so hard to have faith in that. The Spurs were our team, like, they can win the title and they can also get put out the first round. Traditionally, it's just so hard to predict the Spurs ever. Like, I'm sure I'm going to be wrong about them 4th. They have 60-game win potential. You just don't know. What I do know, Kawhi, to me, is going to be top 3 in MVP voting. I feel like he's going to be 2. I feel like he's going to be all NBA first team for the forwards. And I feel like, him and that guy in Golden State are going to be the 2 all NBA first team forwards.
Over Bron?
I think it's time that LeBron gets the second team.
And I think you're wrong.
I know you do. But
I think LeBron's going to win the MVP.
Heck no.
You don't think so?
No.
You'll be surprised.
I will be surprised. I definitely will.
You'll be surprised.
But to me, Cleveland is just not on the level of these 4 teams. And for the fact that LeBron is probably going to be resting a lot more than usual this season, taking a lot of breaks. I'm not a guy that likes giving somebody MVP because their team loses. I understand value, but I like looking at what you're doing on the court. That's just me.
But LeBron's going to rest and not play. Like, it's not like he's going to rest in the middle of the games. Like, the games he plays, he's going to play, like,
that's my point.
Minutes.
That's my point. Rest as in not play. He's going to be missing a lot of games. He's probably not going to play.
His PBG or his rebounding or averages.
It's not. And that's why he's going to make the second team. But at the same time, we're looking at guys that are in prime, guys that are probably going to play the whole season, guys that are going to be at their absolute best. As LeBron, he's just really waiting for the playoffs. That's what he's there for. He doesn't care about the regular season. Don't you want to reward the guys that bust their tail the entire season? I think that's what the league wants. They want new stars.
I don't think it should be a reward. It should be the most valuable player. I think LeBron's the most valuable player.
Well, I'm talking all NBA first team right now.
Oh, well, if he's going to win MVP, he'll be first.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to win MVP.
But to me, he's going to be neither one. You can't – I don't like rewarding you when you're not playing.
But it's not like he's going to sit out like 50 games. Like, he's only going to sit out like once every few games. Like, he'll still play like 65, 70 games. Right?
We'll
He'll
see.
play enough to be a candidate unless he gets injured. Like that's different. But LeBron's, Iron Man LeBron doesn't really get hurt.
He almost missed the opening season, open game of the season because of his ankle.
Well, I mean, on the court, you could have hardly tell
How many
that
games did
he
he
had
play
an
last
ankle
year?
Oh,
problem to begin with.
Yeah, this was crazy. I know. We'll see. We'll see. But at the same time, going back to Kawhi, like he's been going up and up and up. Papa's already called him the best player in the league. You
Of
know,
course, he's gonna call him that.
I know a lot of coaches that won't lie about their best player.
But if they have a player of Kawhi's talent, they're gonna say Kawhi's the best player in the league. Like
But
all
he
the
has a
Golden State
case.
guys will say their guys are the best players in the league. Like they'll say KD or Steph was the best player in the league, and then all the Cavs players will say LeBron.
I don't know. I feel like some
But-
coaches would just give their players what they do. Because if that was the case, when coaches and GMs go over who they feel like is the best player in the league, it would be a 30-way tie for their
Well, they
best
had
player.
like a coach's poll, and LeBron was voted the most.
I mean, I know LeBron's the best. I'm just saying what Greg says. That's how much faith and confidence Kawhi is.
Mhm.
He's on that level where he could be up for consideration.
We all know that. We all know that.
You know,
I think
this is a top 5 player in
In
the
my
league.
book,
now.
he's number 2 or 3. If I had to rank.
I'm gonna still say top 5. I'm not gonna give an exact ranking because the season just started, and I want to see the trend where guys are coming up or going down. Heck, because Bleacher Report got Giannis at 5th, top 5 in the league. I sound crazy now, but when the season over, they might have a point. Who knows? We just gotta see. Anyways, I don't like the LaMarcus Aldridge resigning. I don't like LaMarcus Aldridge. The comments that he was making, like he wasn't playing his hardest because he didn't like the position he in. That was just pathetic. I would have traded him instantly. I know they entertained the idea of trading him beforehand, but to me, this is not a guy that you can really make a focal point because you can never trust that he's doing his best. The Spurs are a team where you are required to have full effort and full commitment. That's why Richard Jefferson didn't work when he played at San Antonio, even though he was still relatively in prime. You need to have guys that are willing to sacrifice. That's the Spurs culture. That's what they preach. That's why Stephen Jackson got removed from the team because he wouldn't sacrifice and just bow to Kawhi. And look at Kawhi now. He looks crazy. Stephen Jackson, was he even in the league after that? I don't remember him. This is the perfect time for DeJounte Murray to make a name for himself with Tony Parker being out to January, December, looking at it. DeJounte impressed me in the playoffs. I thought he was scared at first because, Patrick Beverly was trying everything in his power to wreak havoc on him, just introduce him to the league. But he kept his composure. He kept afloat. And, I like that. I like a kid that can't get rattled and who can pick himself up. And a lot of people are high on him anyway, and he has the time. Because it would be so sad if Patty Mills had to start defensively. That would just mess up a lot. Patty is a 6-man. Just keep him that way. But all in all, Greg, you got a lot of your hands because this league got so much better.
Rod?
My number 4 team is Oklahoma City Thunder. I kind of have them in the same boat as the T-Wolves. They just reconstructed their whole team. Last year was a Westbrook show, but now he has help. And it's going to take them some time on figuring out how to play with each other. And like I was saying earlier, like every game in the West matters. And if you're losing those tough early games just trying to figure things out, it won't really help with your seeding. But I don't think they're the 4th best team in the West. I think they're the 2nd best team, in my opinion. But
Agreed.
The additions of Paul George and Anthony for what they traded is still shocking to me. Like, Sam Presti better win GM of the year. Like, it shouldn't even be close. And Carmelo's moving back to his best year in New York was at power forward. He's moving back to power forward. Paul George, there at the 3. You got Westbrook there. And Andre Roberson, I mean, he may not be the best offensive player, but he was first team all defense last year. Like, You need players like that in the West. And Steven Adams, he needs to play like Steven Adams of 2 years ago, not last year. If he's back to Steven Adams of 2 years ago, then this team really has a great shot at Golden State, in my opinion. I really like the Patrick Patterson signing. He's a good big off the bench that could really change up from Steven Adams, can step out, hit the three. Jeremy Grant is underrated, in my opinion.
Agreed.
I think he's one of those like guys that are really long and athletic and pogo stick athleticism, so he can get a lot of blocks and stuff. And they could play small. Like, they could even throw him out there at center and really match up and size up with everyone, with Westbrook being a big guard, Roberson 6'7", Paul George 6'10", and Anthony's around 6'9" too. So it can be really big and really play some good defense. Because all those guys other than Anthony are plus defenders, in my opinion. Anthony, I feel like he's one of those guys, like, he needs to be pushed to play defense. And when he's pushed, he can actually play a decent amount of defense. Because he was guarding Kobe when he was in Denver, and he guards LeBron every time they play. So when he's motivated to play that on that end, he can. And this team is so potent on offense. It's insane. Like, that's why I think that they can compete with Golden State.
3.
Number 3, I got the Houston Rockets. Houston, to me, is the closest team when it comes to being able to score with Golden State. I like Chris Paul and James Harden together. I don't know what anybody's talking about when it comes to potential chemistry issues. James is a shooting guard. Do I have to repeat myself? James is a shooting guard. The only reason why he had to facilitate so much through these past couple of years, because it didn't just happen last year. If you actually watch the Rockets, James been facilitating for a good minute. Nobody else could. Nobody else could. I mean, Michael Jordan had a year where he had to average 8 assists because there was no other playmakers on that team. Now he got somebody that he's been begging for, somebody that can put him off ball, because he said he's tired of dribbling, scoring. You know, he wants to do other things. He wants to come off screens. Now he has the chance to, and he's probably got the best player in the league when it comes to that, the best leader in the league when it comes to running the offense, in Chris Paul. You know, a lot of people would say LeBron, but LeBron is so worried about what he feels like is right. I wouldn't say so, because Chris Paul is more so concerned about what is right. He just had some bad breaks in his career. I mean, don't get me wrong. I still feel like he has a good portion of blame for not getting past the second round. But, you know, if you look at the big picture, you can kind of understand. But, bruh.
I can't understand that one series, though.
Which one?
The Clippers, Rockets.
Oh, no, that was his fault. That was his fault.
Yeah.
But, you know, the 2015 season, they should have beat Portland. You know, they just had some bad breaks with injuries. You know, I felt bad for them, but hey, now it's time to really do some damage. You know, this is a team that can get past the second round. I don't have a guarantee that they will, though, because
they get like OKC or San Antonio or Minnesota second round,
right?
Or Golden State even,
right?
If they're 4,
right? Oh, if they're at 4th, it's over.
Yeah,
because even though they can score with Golden State, they can't defend like Golden State. I feel like they can catch 2, maybe even 3 games, but even in the clinch series game. Oh, James has some demons. James Harden has some serious demons. I mean, James' demons, although Chris Paul has lost more, James has been worse. Like, didn't he have like a game where he had over 10 turnovers because of Little B? And then that breakdown he had against San Antonio without Kawhi Leonard?
Yeah.
Come on, man. No. James has worse defense. And let's not even talk about the finals. Let's not even talk about the finals when James was in there. Anyways, you know, I hope they could put it through their head, because they both can understand where each other is coming from. James wants to win. I think people, they don't give him enough credit for actually wanting to be a winner. He's not a guy that just cares about his stats. He wants the glory. He wants to be MVP. He's my MVP. He was my MVP last year. He was my MVP when Steph Curry won his first MVP. I feel like it's about time y'all start giving him the respect he deserves. And stop disrespecting Chris Paul. To me, he's still a top 10 player. But now, Chris Paul's in an interesting place where we're actually going to see him as the basketball player as opposed to the point guard. And that's really exciting. Oh, my God. The shooting on this team. They were second in scoring last year. They weren't that far away from Golden State. It was just a difference of 0.6. They have a lot of shooting when it comes to Ryan Anderson, Trevor Ariza, Eric Gordon, PJ Tucker, who I love coming in there. Mabaya Mute got better from 3. I don't know how much time Bobby Brown can, but I follow his career and I'm a fan. I like Bobby. I like what they're doing with Clint Capella. He's doing what Dwight Howard was asked to do without complaints, and that's why it works. Your chemistry is intact because if Dwight Howard would just kept his ego together, I mentioned it before, him with Chris Paul, James, if that happened potentially, to me, that probably would be a favorite. That probably would be a favorite for me. But since that's not the case, you get Clint. I don't know how good he can be. I don't feel like he's going to reach that top center category, but he's definitely going to be productive. He's at least going to be like Steven Adams, at least. Having said that, all you have to think about is get past the second round. So get past the second round.
Rod?
My number 3 team is what DG said, Houston Rockets. They're going to be a great regular season team because they can just score the ball. Like, they're going to be up there with Golden State in terms of scoring, and they're another team that loves to shoot threes. I mean, Daryl Morey is known to be an analytics guy, and the Rockets are known it's either a layup or a 3. So they're going to shoot a lot of threes, and they have the shooters to do that. But my big thing with them is I don't know how well they're going to do in the playoffs. Like DG was saying, James Harden and Chris Paul, those guys play Houdini better than anybody when it comes to showing up in the playoffs. And I just feel like they're going to be a great regular season team, but when it comes to the playoffs, whoever they're matched with, I could see them losing in the first round, honestly. Because if they're the 3 seed in mine and they're playing Minnesota in my rankings, like, that's a tough series for them.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I feel like it'll be a 6 game. But I feel
Really?
like they'll have no problem.
Wow. Well, that's what you feel, but I feel differently. I feel like Minnesota would give them a run for their money. I don't know if they'd beat Minnesota.
I agree with Rod.
Like, in playoffs basketball.
They
Yeah, I
don't
understand.
know about playoff basketball. Minnesota
Jimmy
has
does.
That's one player. It's not like he knows a lot about it. He didn't get past the second round either.
So
At least James did. At least they're familiar with the offense that they're playing. The only person that's different really is Chris Paul.
exactly, and that's different. That's huge difference, though. Chris Paul's taking the ball out of James Harden's hands. They've revolved around James Harden the last 2
And
years.
if the Rockets aren't hitting on all cylinders,
Yeah.
Minnesota's going to kill them on rebounds.
Yeah, they're going to kill him on the boards as well. I just feel like...
I think Cat can eat up Capella offensively.
Yeah,
and
they don't have no
defensively.
one on their roster that can really, keep Cat in check.
I feel like that's the only one that they have a shot to like keep him afloat.
And I
I'll
think
bring
Jimmy
Minnesota
Butler's a
afloat.
good enough defender to, guard James Harden, stay out of foul trouble.
If Wiggins can, if
can put
Wiggins
Wig-
has a good game, he'll eat up Ariza. Ariza's going to clamp up Wiggins.
I don't think so. I don't know. It depends.
I'm not going to absolutely say no, but I know
but
that
I feel like
And Butler's at
The
least going to
T-Wolves-
slow Harden
the
down a little
T-Wolves
bit
have
with
so
his
many.
defense.
They have so many one-on-one players, and that's when that's what you need in the playoffs. Because, like I was saying in the last show, playoff basketball is less X's and O's and just like more. I wouldn't say more ISO ball, but that's what it comes down. Like, the better basketball players show up.
I get
And
that.
I feel like Minnesota is a team that regular season wise, they have some figuring out to do. But when it comes to the playoff, they'll have 82 games under their belt.
Yeah, but Minnesota's going to deal with the pressure they never seen before that
That's
we
true.
don't know if they can handle or not. And
And
then how you feel about Cat with Capella is how I feel about with Chris Paul and Jeff Teague.
But Jeff Teague's been there. He's been to the Eastern Conference Finals. He's been in the playoffs.
Yeah, in the East. We're talking about the West and him being a new point guard on a whole new team and a new system. As I know Chris Paul is as well, but at the same time, it's not like he's really changing his role. Jeff Teague being with Atlanta, being with Indiana was totally different situation. Now him being with Tibbs, I feel like he's gonna have to share some sort of facilitation with Jimmy because that's what Jimmy. People don't understand. Jimmy did a lot of facilitation for the Bulls, and with him going to Tibbs, where do you think he got it from? So really, we're gonna see Jeff off ball sometimes, and I don't feel like he's gonna be as productive as his best years. I mean, he's not in Atlanta for a reason.
Yeah, but in Atlanta, they ran like sort of the Spurs system, and Jeff didn't really have to do much. He had to do a lot off the ball as well, anyways. Because that Budenholzer, he came from Pop,
Yeah.
Pop's coaching tree, so he can play off the ball. I mean, the big thing for them is learning a new system, playing with each other. But they'll have 82 games by then. When it comes to playoff time, that's another team no one wants to see. I mean, none of these teams want to see each other. But when it comes to athletes, their athletic and defensive ability, I don't think anyone wants to see the T-Wolves.
Moving on to 2.
Number 2, I have the OKC Thunder. My second pick of the West, and I feel like they are the second best team in the league. I know Paul George and Carmelo just got there, but I feel like they fit really well with each other since Melo's going to play the 4. Some people have entertained that idea of Patrick Patterson playing the 4, Melo the 3, Paul George the 2. I told them, no, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. That's not going to happen because Roberson has not seen the bench in his career. I believe like he always been a starter or somewhere close to it, always. But, the way this team is set up, why would you put Roberson on the bench? You have all this scoring and you have potential to have 2 lockdown wings. You got protection in the paint with Steven Adams. And Westbrook, when he decides to play defense, is a good defender. It's great because one of your best scorers don't have to guard the best player. You got Roberson for that. So now Paul George can even elevate. And now Paul George, he has a chance to get right back into the top 10 players in this league. I feel like this was so much better than him going to the Lakers. He was going to lose in the Lakers. Paul George is my favorite player, and I was so sad. I was weeping for his career. I thought he was going to be like how Rudy Gay was, where he just disappeared. And I didn't even talk about Rudy that much with the Spurs, but $6 million a year. Anyway, Paul George is in the right place at the right time because he's never played with somebody his caliber. His best player, like his best teammate, was Roy Hibbert.
What about Danny Granger?
Danny Granger, more so, Paul George didn't become the player what he was until after Danny was hurt. When Danny Granger was there, Paul George was still developing. I was talking more so like we see, when Paul George was in his alpha dog days. Not necessarily being background. Because at that time when Danny was there, Paul wasn't even the second best player on that team. You could say either Rory or David West.
You're right.
Yeah. So the only reason why I didn't say David West is because Rory made the All-Star team. And so league-wise, yeah, you would say so for one season. But now he's playing with Melo and Westbrook, who, first of all, he's playing with somebody that's better than him. No disrespect, but Westbrook's better than you. And he has a guy that can have nights where he's better than him that nobody would be mad about. If CJ Miles outscores Paul George, the Pacers probably lost. Melo outscores Paul George, no issue. And I feel like Carmelo has an opportunity to get a lot of buckets. Him playing off ball, I don't feel like it's an issue for him to get his isolations in the post because looking at this team, they need somebody on the block.
Exactly.
So I don't understand why they say there's not enough balls on the court. There is because the right players are going to be in the right positions. Westbrook just has to understand that he has to be a pure point. The 30-point days is over with. It's time for you to focus more on the facilitation. Paul George is going to be either at the corner or somewhere around the 3. and you got an animal in the post that no four can guard. People say that OKC has depth issue. I kind of like Patrick Patterson coming off the bench at the 4 because he can spread the floor. I like Jeremy Grant as well. I feel like he's definitely underrated, and people really underrate his jump shot. Now, after that, they do need some help at the 3 because Kyle Singler, it was a point where he was the worst player in the league. I'm usually funny and being excessive, but in ESPN rankings, he was legit the worst player in the league at a year. So I'm serious. Abrinas, he's a shooter, so
Good shooter.
that felt
Good shooter.
Raymond Felton.
I like that.
I'm glad you do.
I don't mind it. Like, he's okay as a backup point. Like, he's only going to play like 15 minutes at most.
Man, I guess he's just happy he's in the league, but I feel like they could find somebody else. To me, he's your third point guard. He's not your second. Other than that, I haven't seen Josh in a long time. I ain't seen him since he got drafted. So I don't know what he can do. Nick Collison always finds a way to stay in OKC. He's the ultimate GOAT when it comes to that. Dakari Johnson off the bench,
I like him.
yeah,
He's a UK guy.
UK guy. He can spell out. It just hurts that they don't have cancer. It hurts a lot. But at the same time, I don't feel like you can play cancer.
It does, but it doesn't because they couldn't play cancer in the playoffs.
That was just what I was going to say. They can't play that. And then I don't feel like he could play with Carmelo either.
Yeah, like you couldn't
So
play
you
both
had
of them
to.
together. Yeah, they had to throw him in there.
To me, they're one more bench guy away from going over Golden State, but it has to be like a superior bench guy. Until then, I don't have any issues offensively. Defensively, I
good
feel like
question
they're underrated. What?
Wouldn't D Wade be perfect for this team?
Off the bench?
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And he can play that backup point. Bro.
Yes, he'd play that back. He would lead that second unit, and he wouldn't have to do it every night. Like, they could stagger, the big 3.
Oh, yeah.
They could stagger their minutes, so he'd have a star with him on the floor.
Oh, the small ball potential would be ridiculous.
Yeah. Wouldn't D Wade be perfect?
Oh, yeah. I like that. I like that a lot.
He'd play a huge role on this team, too.
Yeah. But now, I guess he just wanted the easy way to the finals or check, either or, because, he doesn't really care about playing anymore.
I mean, he got bought out by the Bulls, so he's still getting the checks from the Bulls as well.
I know, right?
My number 2 is I got the San Antonio Spurs. Everyone counts them out every year, and I just want to be the one person to not count them out. I think they're going to be number 2. They won 60 games last year. Didn't lose much. I mean, they lost Jonathan Simmons, but they got Rudy Gay for him. And it's the Spurs. Like, they're just going to play how they play. They have the best coach in the NBA, one of the best coaches in NBA history, and they have an MVP candidate in Kawhi Leonard. And LaMarcus Aldridge, he just signed that extension, so he understands what he needs to do. He had a rough playoffs and offseason with the Spurs, and they even dangled him in some trades like you mentioned earlier. But I feel like he wouldn't have signed that extension with them if he didn't understand his role. And I feel like he sort of understands, and Pop is going to, get the most out of him. And so I think that the Spurs are just going to be the Spurs, and they're going to be right back where they were, number 2.
Quick question. They let Jonathan Simmons go with the intention of giving more minutes to Brandon Paul, who's made a lot of noise and got a lot of praise from Pop, coming from the G League, coming to the Spurs, I think on a 2-year contract. Would you have made that move, or would you have kept Jonathan?
I personally would have kept Jonathan. But if Pop really likes this guy, like, who am I to argue with Pop?
And Rudy Gay.
Yeah, and they got Rudy Gay. Like, they can go smaller now. So they could put LaMarcus at the 5 and have Kawhi and Rudy Gay at the 4s and Deontay and Danny Green. So they can really match up with Golden State small ball now.
The fact that Rudy Gay is coming off the bench is just on 25 other teams in the NBA. I have this guy as a starter, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bro.
What a steal.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
What a steal.
Yeah. And he's a guy, too, like, he's coming off of injury, and so we don't know exactly how good he can be. But it's the Spurs. Like, they're gonna bring the most out of him, and he's finally gonna see some playoff success because every team that they trade him off of, they get better. So I really hope that he doesn't hold the Spurs back, and they just do what they do. We're a Kawhi Leonard injury away from beating the Warriors game one, and who knows how that series would have went.
Well, I know who your guys' one pick are. Let's talk about them a little bit. The Golden State Warriors.
I mean, what else is there to say, man? This is our Chicago Bulls of the 90s. This is our Shaq Kobe Lakers, man. This is our Magic Lakers. This is our Larry Bird Celtics. I mean, come on now. These guys, it's flat out cheating what they're doing with this league.
Timeout. Yours, not ours.
You don't think they're that good?
I think they'll be remembered for sure, but they just started like this half of the decade being this good.
Yeah, but
What about the first half of the decade?
what do you mean? It's not like they weren't in the playoffs.
They were.
You know, Steph was an all NBA player before Draymond was coming off the bench. So he was making noise. It's just that ever since Steve Kerr got them, man, they won the most games in that tenure in NBA history. And with Kevin Durant there, that's what I mean. If Kevin Durant wasn't there, I wouldn't have said all that. But with him there, now it's just flat out cheating. I mean, you got 2 MVPs in their prime. Never really seen that before. Klay Thompson, who can make anybody starting shooting guard, or if not shooting guard, he could play that 3 spot. He's definitely a starter in every team. Draymond, Defensive Player of the Year. It was a point where they had 3 players that were the best in their position. It's flat out cheating. Now they got Kevin Durant. Now, like, looking at their bench is still dope. Sean Livingston and Iggy are savvy veterans that can do anything. Well, Sean can't shoot, but outside of that,
He
he's
can't
so
shoot,
efficient.
but the way he can drive to the basket.
Oh,
And that
yeah.
post-up,
And that
he's
post-up game is crazy. Right.
6'9" point.
Yeah, so it doesn't hurt. Adding Nick Young, oh my God, like, to have him come off your bench, man, I love it. I love Swaggy P in Golden State because all he has to do is shoot threes, and that's the best thing he could do. The reason why he didn't work out in other places because he had to do other stuff. But all he has to do is shoot threes. It's perfect. David West is still there for backup for, that's cool. You could do a lot worse, but I'm looking at Jordan Bell to take a lot of his minutes. Jordan Bell is another Draymond Green type guy. I really like Jordan. I really feel like he won't win Rookie of the Year, but he can make the rookie sophomore game. At least do that. He will make a name for himself. I don't know why they start Zaza. I just don't. But hey, he was a near all-star himself, so who am I to question anybody, right?
Good thing they took that voting.
Oh my God, thank God, because he almost made it. But to me, JaVale just fits more. But if they do small ball, like, there's no team beating that. Scored the most points in the league last year. Highest point differential, over 10, more than anybody. Nobody even hit 10. Nobody hit 8. So, to me, it's just too much in prime talent.
Yeah.
Too much.
My thing with the Warriors, I mean, you hit everything on the head there. There's nothing much more I could say about them. But my thing with them is, you're saying they're a team to remember for this decade, but I feel like they only have like a couple more years together because Klay Thompson and Draymond Green, they're max guys, and they're already paying KD max money. Curry just signed $200 million contract. So right now they're kind of, going to enjoy the ride for the next couple years. But once those 2 guys hit free agency, like, how is this team going to look? And they're already paying so much in like tax money and stuff like that. So is this a team that's sort of like preparing for that? Because Jordan Bell, like you said, it's just like Draymond. Are they sort of preparing him to be that guy if Draymond decides to leave and get paid? You know what I mean? And then McCaw, you didn't mention him. Like,
He got better.
He got better, and he's probably going to be Iggy 2.0
Mm-hmm.
when Iggy's time's up. So, I mean, this is a team that's going to sustain because, like you said, they have prime MVPs in their prime. But it's just interesting to see down the road what these, guys get offered in the market.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be ridiculous. Like Draymond, to me, I feel like they need him, even though Jordan Bell is there, because banking on potential and actually having it is two totally different things. I'd rather keep what's there. I personally feel like Clay better take a cut because I don't feel like he will go to the finals anywhere else unless he took a cut for another elite team. I know people have been saying that he could run the team by himself. I don't feel that way.
No, I don't either.
I don't feel that way at all. I totally
I'm
disagree
so
with that.
glad you feel that way because
He's not that good.
I don't think he's a good player by himself, and I feel the same way. Not a good player in terms of, I don't mean it like he's a bad player, but I mean like
He's
I
not
don't
an
think-
all-star by himself.
Yeah, exactly, and I don't feel that about Draymond either.
Honestly, I feel like Draymond would probably be better by himself than Clay
Yes,
because Draymond affects more of the game than Clay does. And he could fit more, him being up 4 and all, but he could play the 3. But, he could do a lot of things, a lot of dirty work that a lot of teams need that they don't have.
but
and
would he
that's-
be an all-star on another team, another non-elite team like the Cavs or the Celtics or something?
I don't think he would be an all-star on another team, but I do think he could be a champion on another team.
Okay, I agree with that.
But as long as you got Steph and KD, they'll be fine.
Yeah, you could add anyone; they'll be fine. Honestly.
Well, that'll do it for the Western Conference. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We're going to have our regular LaFlare radio coming for you guys on Fridays, so make sure to be on the lookout for that. As always, thanks a lot for all of the support. Be sure to comment and get in touch with us if you have anything to say. Just get involved. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to have you join in on the conversation. BT, Hot Rod, and Dee Greatest. Over and out.